I don't know what name it would be under.
I believe Patrick Wright.
Okay. Can we promote Mr. Wright?
Yeah, sure. In now, hi, Mr. Wright, please turn on your camera and the microphone.
Mr. Wright, are you with us? Okay, I heard from the chat, Mr. Wright says that he is with the congressman's staff and he will log on shortly. So we will go right over to the announcements then while we wait for Congressman Payne. First, the importance of continuing to follow the COVID-19 emergency precautions. It is critical that we continue to follow the emergency protocols put into place. If you haven't gotten the vaccine yet, please do so. The Pfizer vaccine is currently available to residents 5 years and up. The Moderna vaccine is currently available for residents age 12 and up. A third dose or a booster dose is recommended and available to certain ages and in certain circumstances. The NJ COVID-19 Information Center has issued a chart to explain and simplify these guidelines. You can find this on southorange.org in the COVID-19 information page, or you can call your primary care doctor or New Jersey's toll-free vaccination hotline, 855-568-0545. I know Mr. Festival will be joining us later for the Board of Health announcements, but I just wanted to share that South Orange continues to do very, very well on vaccinations, first dose, second dose, and the boosters. After the last briefing that we received roughly about a week and a half ago, South Orange was leading the county in the booster doses amongst the eligible adult population. And not surprisingly, the pediatric doses, we were also leading the county, which is really showing a testament, I think, to our parents and wanting to keep our schools open. So that's 5 to 11-year-olds. And in the 12 to 17 category, we were high into the 90 percentile. So thanking the community, you'll get more details from Mr. Festa, but especially as we approach the holidays and traveling season, we need to continue to do the things such as even masking indoors and all the travel precautions, especially if you're going out of the country. But otherwise, please continue to keep up the great work. Next, we have a notice from New Jersey American Water. They note we recognize that many people are facing additional hardship due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, making it difficult to stay current on your water bills. To help you avoid shutoffs scheduled to begin January of 2022, we are offering a payment plan to assist customers with bringing their past due balance current. For more information or to enroll in a payment plan, please contact the Customer Service Center at 855-722-7072. Call center representatives are available on weekdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Next, we have some announcements from the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs. Registration for our second session of indoor baseball and softball clinics is now open. The clinics will be held at the South Orange Middle School Gymnasium on Monday,
starting January 24th. The program will run for 8 weeks and is open to players ages 7 to 12.
For additional information, please visit the department's website.
Next, you have indoor soccer clinic registration is also now open. This program is available to players ages 7 to 12. Spots are limited, so be sure to sign up soon. More information also on the village's website. The second session of indoor field hockey registration for grades 6 to 8 is also open. The program will begin February 3rd on Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Again, back to the village's website.
And Spring Village.
Baseball registration is right around the corner. Registration for players ages 5 through 15 will begin January 1st. For more information, please visit the department's website or sombaseball.org. And if you've heard something that you're really interested in, you go to southorange.org, government departments, recreation and cultural affairs, and there's all the goodness of the catalogs and registration and how you can get yourself or your family or your children involved. Next, we have a very important notice on the traffic for West South Orange Avenue. Essex County has announced emergency bridge repairs on West South Orange Avenue near 1 Sopak Way, beginning on or about Monday, December 13th. So that's right around now. Emergency repairs to the bridge spanning the east branch of the Railway River will take place. Traffic is expected to be impacted. Construction crews and traffic directors will attempt to keep one lane open in both directions. However, the roadway will be subject to partial or full closures as needed, with 3rd Street and Montrose Avenue utilized as detour routes. The project is expected to take 6 weeks to complete. Thus, we ask commuters and residents to plan accordingly and use alternate routes. So again, this is the area right in front of where the Reservoir Pizzeria is, right at that intersection. So it's the heart of the downtown, and obviously it's a county road, so it's going to severely impact traffic. So please think about this. Don't rush. Don't be frustrated. If you come to that closure and you need to find an alternative route, plan accordingly now. We do know it is going to take 6 weeks to make this repair. Again, that is through Essex County. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are in winter snow removal season now. We want to remind the public of our snow removal ordinance, the goal of which is to help ensure safe and accessible passage for both vehicular and pedestrian traffic, particularly children walking to and from school. The ordinance requires residents to clear snow from their sidewalks within 12 daylight hours following a snowfall and prohibits moving snow into the street. Ice must be removed, treated with a thawing substance, or thoroughly covered with sand, ashes, or cinders. If there's a fire hydrant on your property, you are required to clear it by 3 feet on each side and with a clear path to the sidewalk. Additionally, residents are asked to heed the following guidelines. Park vehicles in driveways during snowfall to allow curb-to-curb plowing. If you park on a street, you are expected to clear the area around your vehicle. Next, on-street permit parkers should move their cars to the 3rd Street garage to allow for street plowing. Next, delay driveway shoveling until after streets are cleared. Avoid shoveling or blowing snow back into the street, which I know is very frustrating for our Department of Public Works. Next, inform private contractors not to pile snow into the roadways. Next, do not allow parked cars to protrude into the roadway or block the sidewalk. And finally, shovel walkways and driveways in such a way that emergency services can access your home in the event of fire, illness, or a public safety emergency. So while I just made the snow removal announcement, just a reminder about leaves is that the deadline was extended to this Wednesday, December 15th. So 1 additional week. It does take our amazing team at DPW roughly 2 weeks to do the entire town. And we have to be very cautious that we don't enter into the snow season with leaves on the ground. So this is your last chance. Whatever remaining leaves, bag them preferably, but if not, make sure they are out on the street by the 15th. That is 2 days from now. Community care and justice. During the winter months, do you experience increased sadness? Feel increasingly stressed or overwhelmed? Find it hard to motivate or leave your home? Struggle to find joy? If so, please join us for a virtual workshop at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow called Navigating the Winter Blues. This workshop is presented by Community Care and Justice in partnership with Columbia High School's Counseling Annex. The workshop will cover common wintertime stressors and symptoms of winter blues and effective ways to cope and engage in self-care. A Zoom link for this workshop can be found in our village's calendar. Please find some time to join and learn. Mr. Wright, is the congressman with us yet? Excuse me, it does not seem that we are hearing from the congressman, so we'll keep them in the box and then proceed with the agenda. I will note on the additional items, first, a thank you to our rabbis. We had a beautiful menorah lighting. It was great to see our Jewish community and other neighbors come out for the celebration of Hanukkah. And then this past weekend, we had our tree lighting right in front of 76 South Orange Avenue, which was done by our South Orange Downtown, and of course, our amazing special events team. And then we had a nice event also in Seton Village. I saw some beautiful gingerbread houses that looked absolutely delicious. So it is definitely a wonderful holiday season, and this is the push to shop local. As Trustee Zuckerman would know, obviously previously leading our downtown alliance and now serving in Westfield's downtown, a lot of our retailers would tell you that up to 30% of their sales happen, 6 weeks of the last and the last portion of the year, all the way from Thanksgiving through Christmas. And so we really want everybody to do their best to support these businesses. These are the same small businesses that support our various youth activities and nonprofit groups. They're our friends, they're our neighbors, and it's really a tough task being a small business owner, and this is our way to spread the holiday cheer. Trustee Hilton.
Thanks. And Madam President, I have a note that from a resident that the audio isn't working for this meeting, so that the residents or people who are trying to listen can't hear us. So just wanted to highlight that to you and make sure that our tech crew is on it and paying attention.
Trustee Hilton, did they note whether that was through WebEx or is there another feed that they're observing this from? Because they are on the same WebEx that we are.
Yeah,
so if we're hearing each other,
I heard
it should be working.
it says public access or WebEx, so I don't know.
And it seems like we were connecting with Mr. Wright audibly. So I'm not sure, because that is a concern.
Okay, Mr. Lerner, if you and IT can take a look at it. I don't know what's coming over the broadcast right now, but before we take any action on anything, we'll want to make sure that our connections are all correct. And if Trustee Hilton, if you can get any more detail, again, because we all share the WebEx, so if we're hearing each other, it's the same access that the residents would have. So it could be a dated browser or an individual laptop. So let's try and troubleshoot.
Okay, please hang on for a second.
Thank you. Okay, I know that Mr. Wright is working with our IT team, so we're just going to keep moving forward in the agenda until we have the congressman with us. So we do have I'm going to move over to a provisional appointment that we are doing tonight. So why don't we go ahead and elevate? We have Fire Chief Sullivan with us, and we have Captain Klugel with us as well. Can we make those elevations? Ewan?
Say that again. I was working on the broadcast things. Yeah.
We want to promote Daniel Sullivan and
Okay, sure.
David Klugel from the attendee list.
Okay, they are in now. Please turn on the camera and the microphone.
Okay. Chief, are you with us? Captain, are you with us?
Madam President, before they speak in the chat, Congressman Payne is on, but he's having trouble. If our IT could work with him?
Yes. I think that's what they're doing right now.
Okay,
So we're
great.
just going to keep proceeding with the agenda. So first of all, okay, I've got my Brady Bunch going on here. I see both the gentlemen with us. Ms. Davis, if we can pull out for separate action, please. This would be Resolution 2021-330. And can you please read it by short title?
Yes, Resolution 2021-330, resolution promoting and provisionally appointing David Kugel as Deputy Fire Chief in the South Orange Department of Public Safety and Fire Force.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you very much, Trustee Collier. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Brown. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Collier,
Yes.
Trustee Haskins,
Yes.
Trustee Hilton,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
and Trustee Zuckerman.
Yes.
Madam President, we have 6 yeas, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Chief Sullivan, I'd like to turn it over to you for some words before we administer the oath.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Madam President, Board of Trustees, Administrator Lerner, and our legal counsel present, thanks very much for this opportunity to speak and say a few words on Captain David Klugel. As I said previously, November 17th, check that, November 27, 2017 is when Captain Klugel was promoted from firefighter. And at that time, I tried to relate that this is one solid individual who's dedicated to public safety and saving lives and protecting property. And that holds true to this day. I'm pleased to say that Captain Klugel is a fine asset to the South Orange Fire Department and to public safety in general. Regardless of the uniform he wears, Captain Klugel is just an amazing individual who is dedicated to public safety. And I appreciate the board and the trustees and yourself, Madam, in recognizing his ability and making him a provisional deputy fire chief this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Captain, are you ready to take your oath and then I'll call you deputy chief?
Right.
Okay, so if I can get your right hand up, and I will go through it with you very slowly. Okay? I, David Klugel,
I, David Klugel,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
partially, and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all the duties
as a deputy fire chief
as a deputy fire chief
for the Township of South Orange Village
for the
Township of South Orange Village,
Department of Public Safety,
Department of Public Safety,
Fire Force,
Fire Force,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
and that I will not use my office
to grant preferential treatment
to grant preferential treatment
nor seek personal gain,
or to seek personal gain,
favor, or advantage
favor, or advantage.
not available to the public.
not available to the public.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
David, it's great seeing you. The chief obviously speaks very highly of you. We have had interactions. You have moved through the ranks very quickly. As the chief had noted, we pay very close attention to the individuals who continue to invest in themselves, their own professional development, that they continue to elevate others and serve as mentors to many new recruits that we have in the fire department. So congratulations. We're very proud of you, and I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the privilege and opportunity for me to continue
Turn
to
it over to you, turn it over to you.
All right, any additional comments from the trustees? All right, hopefully that was pretty painless. Oh, Trustee Jones.
I just want to say thank you for your service. Your role is very important today.
Mrs. Jones.
Thank you so much.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes,
Mrs. Jones,
I mean, you know what I mean.
We got a thing going on.
All right, so hopefully we'll be able to see you at the holiday party if you're available on Friday. It'll be a good time, I promise.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deputy Chief. Chief, see you soon.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you.
Mr. Lerner, were we able to get the congressman?
He has been promoted. I see his box. I don't see a mic turned on as of yet.
Shot in a beer. Shot in a beer.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick timeout and see if we can get Congressman Payne with us.
Dab in a doob. Dab in a doob. Shot in a beer. Shot in a beer. Dab in a doob. Dab
Looks like
in a
the mic
doob.
is now active.
Dab in a doob.
Just needs to be unmuted.
Dab in a doob. Shot in a beer. Shot in a beer. Dab in a doob.
Oh, it disappeared. Maybe.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Is that the
Finally.
Congressman?
Yes,
Congressman, can you turn your video on so we can see you?
I have arrived.
We are thrilled.
All right, thank you.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, I am so excited. Before you get started, Congressman, I just have to share with my colleagues and members of the South Orange community. I know how difficult things have been, obviously, for local governments and doing our best to keep our community safe, to deliver resources, to be supportive.
Excuse me.
And every step of the way, Congressman Payne has been an absolute champion for South Orange and the communities that he represents. He is frequently on or has a representative on the mayor's briefing meetings that we have with the county. I'm very familiar with all the bills that he has sponsored, co-sponsored, or supported, from infrastructure to COVID relief for local municipalities. It has been quite extensive. So I am personally grateful, and I know my colleagues are, that you were able to even join us tonight, knowing your schedule. And I'm not very good at the butter up stuff and all that. If you weren't amazing, I certainly would not be saying that you were amazing, but South Orange has gotten so many resources from our representatives and the work that you have done in Washington. So we are, from the bottom of our hearts, on behalf of our residents, so grateful for what you were able to accomplish, especially through the first half of the pandemic, where we were not receiving that level of support from the White House. So we're here today doing well because of the work that has happened in DC, along with the efforts in the state and local level.
Well, thank you. That is very, very kind of you. And, as I always state, it is a real honor and a privilege for me to represent South Orange in the 10th Congressional District.
A beautiful community of people that are just warm and inviting. And, as I state many times, my uncle moved to Maplewood in the 1970s. So I spent most of my young formative years hanging out in front of Grunnings. So I know a lot of you might not remember Grunnings, but it's the best doggone ice cream ever made in the world, and it was produced right there in South Orange. So, anytime you are ready for me to start, I will. I apologize for the technical difficulties. My goodness, I've been having nothing but trouble, but I am ready to make my report if you're ready.
Absolutely, Congressman. Please take it away.
Okay. All right. Well, as I stated, it's an honor to be here tonight to discuss how I'm working for you in Congress. As you know, the country is still battling the COVID-19 pandemic, and right now, almost 60% of the country has been vaccinated. In New Jersey, we're doing a bit better. We are at 70% of our population being vaccinated. But there are still millions of Americans who refuse to get vaccinated. It has allowed the Delta and the Omicron variants of COVID-19 to spread and threaten our increasing economic and social stability. Medical experts have advised everyone to wear masks indoors again until the vaccination numbers increase. We must get more people vaccinated to save lives and restore our livelihoods. I got the vaccine because I wanted people to know that it was safe. So very early on, I got vaccinated. And I encourage everyone to get it to protect themselves and their loved ones. It is one of the examples of my dedication to helping you survive during this pandemic. There are several actions I've taken in Congress recently to support you. I've been working to promote more federal spending on infrastructure, as we all know, for years. That is why I helped pass the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act last month. I introduced and helped pass the initial infrastructure bill, the Invest in America Act, in the House earlier before this final bill became law. The new $1.2 trillion funding law rebuilds roads, bridges, and passenger rail networks nationwide for the next 5 years. It will improve the roads that you use every day to get around South Orange and the trains you use to travel throughout the Northeast Corridor. When I spoke to President Biden a few months ago, we discussed the 10,000 bridges that need immediate repair across the nation. That is why this new law is so important. It repairs or rebuilds those bridges and provides more than $8 billion for repairs to New Jersey's highways. Also, it provides $14 billion to improve transit in urban areas of New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York. In addition to local roads and bridges, it contains several other benefits for New Jersey and our district. It provides $38 billion that could help build the $12 billion Hudson River Tunnel project. And you might all want to get a pen and paper because there will be several numbers that I throw out that will be important. It funds projects to increase efficiency at Port Newark Elizabeth Marine Terminal and Newark Liberty International Airport. It contains $55 billion to replace lead piping and provide clean drinking water for all Americans. I diligently worked to get funding in the law to replace lead contaminated water pipes. I did not want what happened with lead contamination in Newark's water pipes to happen in others' communities. Overall, it includes $66 billion for rail projects and $12 billion for transportation upgrades like high-speed rail. It includes $7.5 billion for a nationwide electrical vehicle charging system. Ideally, that system would make electric vehicle charging as easy as pulling into a gas station is today. The bill includes $39 billion to modernize our nation's transportation system. Some of this funding would put more lower and zero emission buses on our roads today as they travel up South Orange Avenue. In addition, it provides $21 billion to clean up environmental damage and former industrial and energy sites. These sites tend to be located in poorer communities and minority neighborhoods, and they cause major health problems for local residents. We need to make every neighborhood safe for every American. The new law contains possible benefits for the infrastructure in South Orange as well. I know South Orange needs downtown sidewalk and streetscape improvements. In the new law, there is $7.5 billion for rebuilding American infrastructure with sustainability and equity, or the RAISE grant program. It funds surface transportation projects just like this one. And another project is the replacement of the Crest Drive water storage tank. The infrastructure law contains $23.4 billion for drinking water and clean water the state revolving funds that are available. These funds pay for water infrastructure improvement projects that protect the public and health and the environment. And projects, a third project is the lead water pipe replacement. The new law has $15 billion to fund lead service line replacement directly. Finally, there is the Stormwater Management Improvement Plan. The infrastructure law contains more than $42 billion for resiliency efforts. The funds include $7 billion for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers infrastructure projects to enhance flood mitigation. And it includes $3.5 billion for FEMA flood mitigation assistance to prevent future floods. These options could help pay for your plan. And please contact me in my office if you need assistance with any of these grants. The historic transportation law was one of the reasons I became chairman of the Railroad Subcommittee in the House of Representatives. I know that most of the communities in the 10th Congressional District rely on rail for their quality of life, for people to get back and forth to work in a positive manner. So I wanted to make sure our rail projects like Gateway program had an advocate in Congress. I believe that out of the 20 some odd municipalities that I represent, there are only 2 that do not rely on rail in their communities. Before I became chairman, I helped get the initial $900 million in federal funding to build the Portal North Bridge. As chairman, I fought to include funding in the new infrastructure law that could be used to build the Hudson River Tunnel. And I've been in constant communication with Transportation Secretary Buttigieg about the funding that we need for the Hudson River Tunnel. You know, it's interesting, whenever I engage Secretary Buttigieg, before he even says hello, he says to me, I know the Gateway project, I know. So the message is getting through to him. Our district and the country need this new tunnel to make transportation safer and easier for all passengers. But that is not the only way I'm supporting you. A few weeks ago, I helped pass President Biden's Build Back Better Act. The other $1.75 trillion bill would provide critical resources and services to help New Jersey families and residents. And it would help create more than 10 million new jobs in the first 5 years after it becomes law. We're looking so forward to that. For New Jersey families, it funds universal pre-kindergarten for all 3- and 4-year-old children. Studies show that learning and development improve when children attend quality pre-kindergarten. The bill limits child care payments to a maximum of 7% of a family's income, household income. And that was such a great thing that we were able to accomplish with this bill, reducing the amount that people have to pay for out of their household income for child care. Another part of the bill, it expands the child tax credit for another year. And, low and moderate income families have benefited from this great piece of legislation. And it allows, it's taking the expanded tax credit will keep 167,000 children in our district alone out of poverty, and that is incredible. Other than family benefits, the bill lowers prescription drug costs and adds hearing benefits to Medicare. As a diabetic myself, I am proud to hear that insulin payments will be capped at $35 per month. This is huge. In my back and forth to Washington, D.C., I one time left my insulin in New Jersey. And so I went to the local pharmacy down here that we use, and I, wanted to order some more insulin. And so the pharmacy said, "Well, Mr. Payne, um, your insurance isn't ready to pay for it yet." And I said, "Well, that's okay. I need it." So I left mine in Jersey, and I need it. So they said, "Okay." So as a young lady went back to prepare it, she brought me the bag, and she told me that'd be $320. And I was just floored. Because of my health care, I did not know what the cost of insulin was. Can you imagine a family on the margins that has to come up with this every single month at that cost? And so we went to work. Uh, you know, that being capped at $35 a month would be huge. That provision would help more than 73,000 diabetics in our district afford this life-saving medication. So I'm very proud of that. The bill expands the Affordable Care Act to provide health care coverage for an additional 3 million Americans. It provides $555 billion for investments in American clean technology production and extreme weather event protections. This funding could help, our district avoid the weather damage we experienced during Superstorm Sandy and Tropical Storm Ida. The bill provides $150 billion to build or improve the more than 1 million affordable houses, apartments. I'm sorry, the bill provides $150 billion to build or improve more than 1 million affordable housing apartments and single family homes. And it will provide funding to support HBCUs in the future, as well as Hispanic and minority serving institutions. These benefits will be funded through tax increases on corporations and the wealthiest Americans. In addition, we will put a new surtax on multimillionaires and billionaires and limit business losses on tax returns and close the tax loopholes. This will make sure everyone pays their fair share to better this nation. These actions are only the most recent ones I've taken for our district. Earlier this year, we passed the American Rescue Plan, and the $1.9 trillion stimulus package helps Americans and local governments deal with the effects of this pandemic directly. It benefits South Orange in several ways. It provided the $1,400 checks to help lower and middle income residents pay their bills during this crisis. And it includes almost $38 billion to help eligible residents pay for their rent and mortgages. It also adds $8 billion to the popular payroll protection program, so small businesses can keep their employees on the payroll. And it creates a new $25 billion restaurant revitalization fund, which I think that South Orange, with its beautiful restaurants, can have several of their institutions benefit from this revitalization fund, to support the food service industry. I would encourage you to promote this funding with your local restaurants. We've lost too many of them during this pandemic. Thankfully, South Orange gets direct help from the American Rescue Plan as well. It provides $350 billion in badly needed aid to states and cities. I fought to get South Orange more than $1.6 million from that fund. In addition, the plan establishes programs to vaccinate every American and reopen every school. It uses $20 billion to increase the vaccination production and distribution in this country. And I work to get a federal vaccination center in Newark to support that effort at that time. With my work serving on the Homeland Security Committee, there was only six sites opened across the country, and I fought vigorously to have one of them opened in our district. So Newark was one of the only communities to get one of these six sites. And I worked to get federal outright the vaccination center. It vaccinated 6,000 people daily until late June. In addition, it includes $130 billion to increase vaccinations worldwide. The funding helped New Jersey return to in-person learning in schools. I worked hard to get students back in the classroom safely. I wrote a letter to the Department of Health and Human Services to designate teachers as frontline workers, which was very important. After my letter, President Biden made teachers' vaccinations a higher priority on the list. And I wrote a letter also to the president to implement my bill, the Mask for Students Act. The bill allows the federal government to reimburse school districts for their protective equipment that they bought during this time. Schools need their funding for students' education, and the government needs to reimburse them for those efforts. So my website has a page dedicated to helping you apply for these benefits from our aid packages. That is, you can reach us at pain.house.gov. It helps you get stimulus funds, rental assistance, and clarity on funding guidelines.
Honey Badger
Again,
Hotbox.
that's pain.house.gov. And if you have specific requests, please don't hesitate to contact my office at 973-645-3213. That's 973-645-3213. We're on the job to help you get what you need. So thank you for allowing me to speak today, and let me know how I can help in the future. And I will try to entertain any questions that you might have. Thank you. Was that enough numbers for you? How many times did I say billion?
Yeah, right. Congressman, if I might, me and my colleagues speak frequently with one another, so I think we're all on the same page about the infrastructure bill and some of the federal monies that may be coming our way. And so I just want to go through a couple things and then defer to my colleagues in case they want to add anything on. And I'd love to host you here in South Orange with our community when is appropriate and when your time allows for a
Absolutely.
town hall, because I know our residents would be eager to first thank you and ask some questions that perhaps I can't communicate over the WebEx right now. You had mentioned Ida. The other area to thank you, as you know, it was a little bit later that we got the declaration. Our relatively small community experienced north of $7 million just in public property alone, from our public works yard to our parks. It was really devastating, but it really highlighted again the need for a stormwater management plan and how we're dealing with what I would call a climate crisis. So one of the things we submitted to your office, and I know Mr. Wright was here and he's been wonderful to work with, is to create some level of stormwater management plan. We're also considering a stormwater utility. So funding for things such as that, and the two others that you reference between the piping for our water infrastructure and the sphere that we have on the western portion up in Newstead, are areas where we're really committed to the infrastructure in South Orange, and they're very high priorities for us. So thank you so much for that. Hopefully out of those big numbers, we can deliver some of that to our residents. Some of the highest taxpayers in the country, likely the world, which brings me to the state and local tax deductions. I know that you, along with Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, you guys have been at the forefront of this. As you know, the average property taxpayer in South Orange bears a burden of close to $18,500 based on a $600,000 assessed value. So the northern districts, particularly in the 10th, where we know the cost of living is very high, the cost of land and housing is very high, we were hit really, really hard, disproportionately, as the blue states experienced by this enactment under the former president. So re-implementing that form of deduction would really, really provide some level of relief to our homeowners here in South Orange, as you know all too well. And then you mentioned Gateway, and I perked up so much. So prior to the pandemic, and I don't know if these numbers still hold because we're obviously living in a different world right now, but in South Orange, we are the busiest stop on the Morrison-Essex line, servicing well over 4,000 riders a day. Without the investment into the prior ARC, access to the region's core, under former Governor Chris Christie, pulling the plug on that, what would it been done by now reinvesting in this Gateway project, which is going to take a lot of time. But our home values the ability to access mass transit. We're not just servicing our riders, we're servicing riders from West Orange, from Livingston, and we believe in alternative transportation. And as Trustee Haskins would tell you, it is the more environmentally friendly way than people driving in their vehicles everywhere, from the air to congestion, etc. So the Gateway project is definitely a huge priority for us, dating all the way back a decade when we were advocating to the former governor to do the work that is needed with the federal government and federal partners to get this project done. And I know between you and certainly Governor Murphy, it seems like there's light at the end of the tunnel, no pun intended. So that is certainly one. And I believe that you also referenced affordable housing, and this is just an update to you. Obviously, you're very familiar with the Mount Laurel obligations, fair housing.
You are talking to a community that has redone all of its ordinance structures, that 1 in every 5 units developed is inclusionary and affordable. We're hitting all 192 of our realistic development opportunity credits in the state.
We are trying to be that community that, despite having affluence from our existing demographics, that we are making space for people who don't have our economic brackets, that they have opportunities to live in South Orange, to go to our schools, to live by jobs that they want, to have access to mass transit. So we're crushing those 192 credits. We're giving an update later today. So the more subsidies that we get from the national or the federal government, that comes in the form of low-income housing tax credits, whether through the Aspire program, a Merge program under the EDA, or HMFA financing. Those are what we're all looking towards to really building and sustaining equitable communities. So this is not new information to you. Just while you're here, I don't mind putting the bug back in your ear. And if you could do anything to help us reform liquor license allocations in New Jersey, it would be much appreciated.
Absolutely. As you know, I have staff that are on the call that are taking these notes down, and just want to let you know that, I'm willing and ready to do anything I can to continue to enhance the quality of life in South Orange that is uniquely very good for many residents, and it is definitely a destination community in Northern Jersey, and one I'm very proud to represent. So we will also, what I will be doing going into the beginning of the year is contacting your business administrator and people in the community on how we can better facilitate the projects that are important to you, and help facilitate these grant opportunities that are going to come up in the next several years. Your grant writers are going to be very crucial to compete for these dollars. So, I would just suggest that to you, that that is an area that is really going to be involved with getting a lot of these dollars into your communities. So I've just been putting all of my communities on notice that, a good grant writer right about now will bode well for your communities. And as we look at different situations and understanding where South Orange is in the proximity on the the rail line, how crucial and important a community it is, kind of almost in the middle of things. And but as I stated, I made sure that I worked vigorously to become the chairman of the subcommittee on rail, pipelines, and hazardous material, because I knew the importance that that position would hold over the next decade. So I don't know if I'll be around that long, God willing, but I am ready to help the nation move forward, and the communities that I represent in a positive manner. So thank you.
All right, colleagues, is there anything that I missed from there that you would like to follow up with the congressman? We all work very collaboratively together, so they normally defer to me to share the thoughts on our collective minds. Congressman, thank you so much. Oh, I see Trustee Zuckerman. Did you have this thing?
One quick question. Thank you, Village President Collum, and welcome again, Congressman Payne, to South Orange.
Thank you.
And for giving us your report. We're very appreciative. Just wanted to ask real quickly if you see one of the things that one of the most effective tools we have in fighting COVID-19 and all these variants is testing, obviously. And now we have at-home testing. But it's not free, and it's not really inexpensive. So do you see anything on the horizon in terms of congressional appropriations or what have you for us to be able to get free or low cost, very low cost at-home testing for COVID?
I believe that there are efforts afoot to continue to support communities in being able to afford those tests and the vaccines and all the things we need to really continue to try to circumvent the spread of this dreaded disease. So, yes, I think that the federal government is going to continue to play a role in making sure that this is affordable to communities because it has to be done, and in order for us to eradicate this dreaded pandemic, this disease, testing is key. So, I believe that the federal government is going to continue to support those efforts at the levels that we have sustained to this point.
Great, thank you. And we'd love to have your support for that as well, of course.
I usually use a little term. I say, do fish swim? So you have it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Congressman. So in traditional South Orange fashion, need everyone to smile. Adam, where'd you go? Julie, come back real quick. This is our version of taking a picture, even though we would normally be doing it on our main stage. So everybody do your best smile and hold it because it's a screenshot. Okay. Nobody touch your hair. And we're going to do one more. Just keep holding those smiles. Almost there. All right. Got it. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us, and our staff will be following up with you on these projects. And again, continue doing what you're doing in DC. We all appreciate it, and we really value your time of joining us here on a Monday night.
Well, thank you for having me, and we'll continue to do what we need to make sure that your community gets the resources that it deserves and needs. And I want to thank you once again for having me, and I am now off to Rowan.
Good night, Congressman.
Good night.
That was wonderful. I'm so glad he was able to join us tonight. And really exciting news that's coming out of the new administration and our representatives. We have one more presentation left from Trustee Jones, and then we are going to move on to our first public comment period. Trustee Jones, are you ready to go?
I'm not sure how I follow Congressman Payne, but I'm gonna try.
Do you have billions of dollars available for us?
No, not today. I definitely can't follow you guys then. Can someone pass me the ball so that I can present?
Madam President, can I make a quick announcement before we start?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we looked into the public broadcasts on the two channels. The technical difficulty is with a piece of equipment that is off campus, so we're not able to get to that piece of equipment to turn on the sound or to reboot the sound for the public broadcast. So for tonight, it's just going to be WebEx. We'll have sound and video. It will be recorded so people can see it, but the public broadcast, unfortunately, we just don't have the ability to get the sound on.
Is this the equipment that's out of Columbia High School?
I'm not sure if it's Columbia or another building. I'm not exactly sure. It's not where our IT staff is at the moment.
Okay. Ms. Davis, have we met all the necessary public meeting requirements through WebEx, etc., even though we can't get audio over television?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we drop the WebEx link into the chat? Well, that doesn't make sense because everybody
here is on WebEx.
Sure. Interesting.
Ms. Doran, are you still with us? Ms. Doran?
I am. I'm listening.
Would you do me a favor and just on our social media, etc., post the link to the WebEx for anybody who may try to turn on the TV? Let's do the best that we can to make sure anybody who wants to watch live can. And then the video will be posted promptly tomorrow morning.
Is it too late to also share out to maybe the Facebook page, just as an option? I don't know. I know it's probably too late to go into the configuration settings, so never mind. Maybe next time.
All right, Summer, do you have the ball? Are you good to go?
I think I'm good to go. I would like for everyone to bear with me. I am trying to present through Canva, which is my first time. I should have practiced a little bit. So do you guys all see my screen?
Yes, we can, Summer. Thank you.
No problem. And are you seeing the full screen or are you seeing just the layout?
We are seeing what you're seeing on your screen, so I can see your browser and the options on the left hand, so it's not pulling into a full screen.
Okay, give me 1 second. I wanted to try something new, and I did it on the night that Congressman Payne is here, and so now I'm nervous. Hold on for 1 second.
But seriously, you have become such a Canva ninja.
I love Canva.
Now it's working, Summer. You have full screen.
Okay, great. So my presentation is understanding the demographics of our South Orange volunteers. And so back in the spring of 2021, I was actually a liaison for the Community Coalition on Race. And Maplewood had actually provided demographics on their community volunteer groups. And so the Community Coalition actually asked for South Orange to provide also a 2021 version. I'm sorry, a version for South Orange itself. And so at the time, and it's basically demographics on all of our committees. So at the time, I moved over to the chair of SPACE, which is our Strategic Planning and Citizen Engagement committee. And so this committee looked to understand as well as the demographics. We're actually focused on volunteer management and how people are engaging with the committee or with the community from a citizen engagement perspective. So we utilized the ask to actually create a survey that went out to all of our volunteers. And so we created a survey that had 17 questions on it, and it was specifically around race, gender, income, what committees you were part of, and etc. And so we asked for feedback from some people, including our Community Relations Committee and some of the neighborhood associations. The one thing that I want to say, especially as we had requests for more committees, is from my perspective and a lot of our perspectives, our community is really run by the government, but a large impact of it is volunteers from the committees. We have approximately 30 boards, commissions, and advisory committees, which includes 6 standing committees. And all 30 of those either have a liaison or 1 or 2 liaisons on it, trustees on it acting as a liaison or a chair or a member of those committees, as well as our village president. So we reached out to all of the committees, and we actually received only 64 responses. And so while it is only 64, we do recognize it's not all of the members, and that goes as part of our volunteer management that we plan on actually revamping for this spring. So the one thing I did want to say is that when you go to look at the responses, it's based on 64 volunteers that are part of our committee. The one question we asked is, the one thing to know is that this survey went out a couple times. It went out 2 or 3 times over the course of 2 months, and we gave people 2 months to actually fill it out. The one thing to note is as of the April 1st, 2020 census, we have 18,484 residents in our community, which is an increase. And so a lot of these numbers are based around, the fact that we had 64 volunteers that applied, and we have many more volunteer positions. So we asked what their connection was to South Orange. 80% of the people that submitted are actually homeowners, so they own homes. 6% are renters, and 4% are business owners in town. We asked about, I don't know what this countdown is. We asked about how do you identify from a race perspective. 73% of the 64 people were white/Caucasian, 14% were Black, 5% were Asian, 6% were Hispanic or Latinx, and 2% actually preferred not to say. From a census perspective, the community is 64.9% white, 25%, 25.1% Black, 4.9% Asian, 6.3% Hispanic or Latinx. So I found that very interesting. How do you identify from a gender perspective? From the committee members that did submit, again, 56% were women compared to the 52.7% of our community members that are actually women. 44% are men. And we did ask about transgender or non-binary or prefer not to say. And so we actually did not have any responses in that category. How do you identify from a sexuality perspective? We had 93% that consider themselves not part of the LGBTQ plus community. And then there was a split between yes and prefer not to say at 3.39% for each equally. And then, so again, I've never used Canvas. I'm not sure what this countdown is going to do, so it's going to be really interesting. So we did ask what is the age range of people that are in our committees. The one that actually hit the most was between 40 and 49-year-olds. It's 36.51%. The next highest group is actually 30%, which is 50 to 59-year-olds. Surprisingly, and I actually know this not to be the case, is that no one that answered the survey was under the age of 29 or above the age of 80. Did you grow up in South Orange, Maplewood, the Selma community? Only 8% of the community members that are part of the committee that submitted the survey actually grew up in town, which I think is really interesting. I thought it would actually be higher, but it's not. And then we did ask, one of the questions that we found interesting, especially when you look at who is joining the committee, who's not joining the committee, and we kind of speculate, do they have kids, do they not have kids? 66% of our volunteers have children living in the household, with the largest percentage of those having children are between the ages of 15 and 18. And then a question that was asked is, and I feel like this is where some people might not have wanted to fill out, 35% of our volunteers, their annual household income is more than $200,000. 31% of those members actually preferred not to say, which is why I feel like there were some questions that might have made people feel uncomfortable. We tried to make it as anonymous as possible, but still try to figure out if we got all of the people as part of the committee. The median household income for South Orange is actually $139,037. So just more about our volunteers. We wanted to ask, and there was a question going around some of the social media sites. Do we pick people that their committees are part of their professional careers? And so we did ask the volunteers if they felt the committee that they joined was part of their professional career. Surprisingly, 77% of people said no. 15% said that they had some similarities, and 8% said yes. We also went on to ask basically how would they define their careers. 16% are retired, 50% are employees, 17% are business owners. We did not have students submit, and then we did have an other category. And so some of the people that are in the other category are stay-at-home moms, disabled freelancers, as well as just nonprofit founders / officers. The next question we asked is how long, on your longest serving committee, what is that time frame? And so 33% of the people that did submit have been on the same committee for 1 to 2 years. 4% have actually been on for more than 10 years. And one of the questions that we really wanted to ask is, do you feel like what you're doing is making a difference? And 93% of the people actually said that they were making a difference. We also asked about how people were recruited. And so that is really key. Again, we are constantly trying to recruit people for different committees and just understanding how they came about the committee. A lot of them, somebody asked them or they were just interested. There were a lot more asked than people actually seeking it out. So the next steps from the committee is actually we put together a volunteer management program. What we're doing is we're looking at the forms that we have online. How can we fix some of those forms? Removal of resumes unless it's for a committee that requires it. We did reach out to a couple of different municipalities just to figure out what they were doing. We currently use Civic Plus. We reached out to Civic Plus itself. Laura Fernandez, who's a resident in the community, is actually going to start reaching out to all of the chairs of the committees to really understand if we have the right information. Some of the feedback that we've received is the committees do not have a clear definition of what exactly they are. What are the asks for being a member of the committees? How do we know how many positions are available? What are their terms up? And so Laura will be working with each chair and each trustee to really figure out that information and get that together. The hope is actually to have that done by February, early March of this year, including redoing the forms that are online. And so those are our next steps. And then I have a thank you with my little campus. So I don't know if there are questions. I do want to thank Trustee Collier and Trustee Zuckerman, who actually provided support along this. In this, I also want to thank the rest of the trustees who actually sent out to the committees that they actually support. And so that's pretty much it. If there's any questions.
Trustee Jones, first, I just want to commend you. Information and data sets like this are so helpful in pushing out information. I know that you're a very humble person, but the back end of the work that you're doing with our professional staff, volunteer management, along with the recruitment. I know our Gaslight has been pushing out all these opportunities and the things that you're thinking about really strategically about making sure that we have diversity, balance, and even geographic diversity, right? When we talk about different neighborhoods and ages. And I just wanted to add the great, well, I don't want to say great, the one upside from this pandemic was also the way that we understood that the way that we leverage technology. So for members of the public who are watching, know that this is not just a one shot where we're doing hybrid meetings. We've invested in our conference rooms on our main stage for our statutory boards. So our goal and hope is that moving forward, for the people who cannot come in person, whether it's family obligations or disability or age, whatever it may be, is that we want to build that type of community where we have this interaction virtually and in person, depending on people's comfort level, whether we're in a health emergency or not, which I think will go a very long way in the participation of committees. And even when people just have a one-off or are sick and want to join and can't come in person, is that I think those numbers will even go higher up. And while you noted the 30 committees that we're all kind of liaisons to, et cetera, that doesn't include the working groups or things that are created as a one-off to address a specific situation, such as the cannabis task force that Trustee Zuckerman is working on. There's so many things that rise to a level of community concern where people will volunteer for a shorter period of time for a specific task that we're looking for their input from. So thank you for this. I know that there's a lot to discuss on moving forward, but I turn it over to my colleagues for any questions or observations you have on Trustee Jones's presentation. Trustee Hilton?
You bet. I'll start. First of all, Trustee Jones, fabulous job. Just completely fabulous. It's something that's been needed for a long, long, long time, and it's just so helpful to have all the data in front of us. I wish we could have given out cupcakes to make sure more people participate in it, but so if moving forward, I hope we can do it again and hope we can get more participation. But just that it's just so very helpful, and I really look forward to working with you on the next steps. Managing volunteers is not easy, and our village relies on the good work of so many volunteers, as you've just pointed out. So I want to make sure that they're valued and that the leadership in each of the committees knows how to manage effectively. So this is just the start of great tools. So thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Collier and then Trustee Haskins.
Yes, thank you, and absolutely echoing the kudos for the great work. It's tough to put these kinds of things together, and it's tough to get folks to participate. So, thank you. The question that I had is, you had said that you had 64 that responded. Did you get a sense for how many of our committees were represented in that 64? Like roughly, just a guess, how many committees actually participated?
There were a number that there was no participants. I want to thank environmental, of course. Really, when you look at some of the top committees, environmental, CPC. I'm trying to just quickly look at it. There were some committees that truly answered, really went out and answered, but there were some committees that there was 0 to 1 person. And again, some of the questions, when we sent out the details, some of the questions were kind of personal. Do you have kids? If you're not comfortable answering that, income I thought was a really big one. One of the questions that we asked, which I thought was really helpful, and we were sending over to South Orange Downtown, is since we were surveying everyone to begin with, would you recommend our downtowns for people to visit and shop and etc. And so we got a lot of responses on that. And then we just got a lot of responses on recruitment. I think recruitment can really use a lot of help. I think that the Gaslight, the postcard that went out last year, got some people. I think word of mouth got some people. The updated Gaslight has gotten some people. We've done social media around it. But it's really just making sure that the chairs are more involved. And they have been involved. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying that with the survey, I know the trustees sent it out to the chairs or to the committees itself. But because we were trying to be as anonymous as possible, because we didn't want people to say, all right, I make this money and I have like no, we weren't going back to say, I think you have 12 people. We didn't get 12 people, but we put it out a few times with the hope that people would fill it out. I hope that answered your question.
It did.
Okay.
I think it's amazing that we have so many people that volunteer, and I just wonder how many more are there for the committees that didn't submit and answer the survey. And I love that about our town, and very thankful for it.
And I think with Laura, and again, if anybody, I didn't say this, but we do have a very small committee of 1 plus some trustees and Laura Fernandez, but the goal would really be to identify committees that don't have enough people. And I know our clerk's office is working on that along with President Collins. So we're in Mrs. Duran, but the goal is to really understand what's truly out there and what is missing. As an example, the Community Relations Committee, who was very involved with the survey, mentioned that they're not onboarded members, right? And so when you look at them and you look at the list of volunteers that are on the list, or the volunteers that come to every meeting, they're actually not on as an official member, even though they've been attending every meeting. And so it's really fixing some of that stuff that's out there for committees that have been around for a long time. I don't want to take up too much time. I know Mr. Haskins, Trustee Haskins, you had something?
Yeah, first of all, just thank you so much for doing this. I think this is really fascinating information and useful. And I wanted to know if we would share information, like demographic information broken down by committee with maybe trustee liaisons or committee chairs, so they could kind of learn a little bit better about their individual committees as well.
Yep, I can definitely do that. We did it in Qualtrics, and so I'll get someone to break down that information.
Thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Jones, just one very short question. As a part of volunteer recruitment, like one of the things that I think is important is we have somewhat of a benchmark right now, and then to measure the success of who are we targeting, who are we missing. I know Trustee Collier always has in her signature stamp who's missing from the conversation. Have you envisioned, or is the CRC looking at as a part of our volunteer process, people can self-identify so that we know whether we're recruiting more diversity or more age diversity, race, income levels moving forward when we make appointments? Obviously, it's not a barrier. We're not going to stop someone from volunteering, but just seeing how we're doing. You're muted.
I think the goal would be to compare it against whatever growth we see. Again, some of the members aren't all listed, and so it's as accurate as the people that have submitted. And so the goal would be really, once we go through and confirm who's on it, is to really come up with a plan of how to with different groups. I know becoming a trustee, and I talk about this a lot, becoming a trustee, it's one of the things where there are groups that when I go to meetings, there are groups that are missing. And the concern is, why are they missing? Why aren't they coming to the table? Why aren't they coming to the events? Because I really believe, especially in this community, we rely very heavily on volunteers in order to make things happen. And when you see people that complain that things aren't being done, I always want to recruit them as well and be like, well, why don't you join a committee? There's plenty out there that you can really help out on. And so the goal would be to try to get people that want to take part, whether it's a full-fledged member or as an ad hoc, right? So there's a group, there's a plan, there's something. So the goal would be to do that. So Space is going to look at that as well as the Community Relations Committee.
Great job. Looking forward to the reports and any help you need from us. We're here to help, like you said.
Thank you.
Village Volunteers. The one positive note, did you notice the women category? A lot
The
of
women
people
category is awesome.
have always said that men, no offense to our friends and colleagues, but has always slanted towards men being more involved or having access to participate in civics or government, etc. And much like the governing body here, we are seeing more women who are really getting involved and contributing, and that is a wonderful factor right there. I love seeing it. All right. So we are going to move on. I'm going to pull back up my agenda. What a full night we have tonight, guys. So we are moving on to the first public comment period. For anybody who wishes to address the governing body at this time, if you could just please raise your hands. Ms. Davis will call upon you, and you can be elevated to address the governing body. And then also you always have the option to email a clerk at southorange.org if you cannot be here and would like to have a statement read. Please make sure to state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Ms. Davis will let you know when your time is winding down. Ms. Davis, do we have any members of the public that would like to address the Board of Trustees?
Yes, Madam President, we have a few hand raised. I have quite a few emails to read, and I have one message in the chat. So wherever you like to start.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and start with the individuals who are here right now in whatever order you would like to go. And then at the end, we'll do the emails to be cognizant of people's time.
Okay, so the first person is Joe Levin. You and if you can elevate that person.
Okay. Is in now. Hi.
Please turn on the camera and the microphone.
Joel, are you with us? Joel, you've been promoted. I can see you as a panelist, but we need your video turned on and your audio enabled.
Please send us a check if you are having technical issue of turning on the camera or the microphone.
And if you have any issues, just use the chat feature. I'm not sure if Joel's with us or if he's having any technical difficulty. So why don't we hold on to Joel and we can move on to the next individual. I would just keep Joel in our Hollywood squares in case he comes back and is able to address the board.
Okay, so the next person would be Benjamin Vitelli.
Okay. Mr. Vitelli, I'm seeing your box and now we just need your video and audio. Hey Ben, how are you?
Able to hear me?
Yes, you are all set. Take it away. Thank you for joining us.
Good. Sorry about that. I just wanted to talk about two issues. Let me know if it's not the right time. They both involve initiatives in town that are being driven by Miss Linda Beck, who, as you know, is an excellent volunteer leader on the Environmental Commission. Now she's stolen away. Amazing, Mr. Haskins. So she has my full support on both of these issues. The two issues are leaf blowers, and I hope that you'll take into account anything that she recommends. She often knows what I want better than I do. So whatever she asks for, I second it. But as you know, for a long time, I've been trying to help with reducing the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in town. The rest of the country is also doing this. Maplewood is 3 rounds ahead of us, and that's okay, but it's time to start catching up. The other issue is one that just came to my attention more recently about the trees that got cut down by the developer at the Squire house. Very unfortunate. Drive by to see what's happened. So I urge trustees to try to work to make sure that doesn't happen again. Obviously, the developer got approval, maybe because he was so good to the town in terms of preserving the building, for removing quite a few trees, 22 or whatever it was. I hope we can lean on the zoning board or pass some ordinances to make it harder even to approve that sort of thing in the future. But, there's a give and take there. The other trees, he needs to pay. If it's too late because it's already happened, well, of course, it's happened. You can't bring back the trees. But if it's too late to make him pay because we don't have a rule, well, let's make life difficult for him, or at least not go out of our way to make life easy for him. And we need to do something for the next guy. Maybe $1,000 per tree year over the tree age of 20, say, something like that. This should cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. To avoid, difficulty, obviously we'll have to talk it out, figure out the way to approach this for the future. Maybe grandfather it, so trees that have been planted in the future from now or starting 10 years ago are exempted, or we'll take them up in the future, some sort of sliding scale. The trees that are 100 years old now, if someone cuts them down without permission of the town, they need to pay. And that's all I have. Thanks again.
Thanks so much, Ben. Have a good night.
You too.
And those who are joining for the first time to the trustee meeting, we will go through and answer any questions at the end, but this is the time for you to make comments. So there isn't any back and forth, but we do our best to take notes and then respond back to you and follow up if need be. Ms. Davis, who do we have next?
Julie McCourt.
Okay.
Julie, we see your name, and if you'd like to turn your video on and your microphone. Hi, Miss McCourt. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh,
You seem
you're all
all of you
set.
seem
We've
to
got
be
the audio.
great. Thank you. Julie McCourt from Hickson Place. I'll keep it short. I appreciate you granting me the time to speak this evening, and thank you for bringing Congressman Payne to our meeting. His work has directly impacted the well-being of our residents, and his persistence in connecting with us tonight, despite his tech issues, speaks to his dedication to our community. So thank you again. I'd also like to just volunteer to you that I am a recently recruited volunteer by Trustee Jones, and I am pleased to join the increasing number of women who are volunteering for our town. On another note, I encourage the Board of Trustees to endorse the Shade Tree Commission, as well as to encourage the village administration and employees to support its mission of protecting the existing trees of the village and foster plans to increase the number of trees to be planted. South Orange has consistently lost mature trees during the past 2 decades, not only to diseases that attack specific species, but succumb to no less than 35 different hurricanes, nor'easters, or winter storms. This number includes 4 hurricane storms of the century of wind or rain or both, 2 blizzard northeasters, and 2 rainstorm nor'easters. The trees that have been damaged or lost in the storm have full root systems and encompassing canopies that provide shade to hot streets and sidewalks, buildings, and homes, absorb storm water, and convert CO2 into oxygen while in our midst. On another note, I'm wondering if development, whether completely new or existing redevelopment of property, should be first rooted as a matter of procedure through other committees and commissions like the DRB, Environmental Commission, HPC, Parking Authority, before submitting an application to the Planning Board. This way, a variety of detailed and competing priorities, such as preservation of trees, can be properly addressed in advance of the applications presented to the Planning Board. It is an efficient use of the time of the volunteer members of all committees who selflessly serve our village. Additionally, it mitigates the complexities of planning board resolutions, which can be quite complicated, as this year's past activities have shown us. I hope that a simple routing process can be designed. Next, at the planning board meeting last week, 2 members mentioned their resignations, both minorities and 1 female. I hope they are aware of the gratitude that the residents of South Orange have for them in such a demanding volunteer role. They have advocated for South Orange to be a better place to live and deserve our thanks. I ask the Board of Trustees to be vigilant in the appointment of new members to the Planning Board who reflect the racial, gender, and social composition of our town, where their inclusion will only make us stronger as a community. These future members may not have a lot of experience with development and its complexities, but the Planning Board Forum is a place where everyone learns at exponential speed. At the same Planning Board meeting, there was mention that starting in January 2022, Planning Board meetings would be in public and together. While I'm eager to be done with the chaos that COVID-19 has caused, crisis also gives rise to opportunity. Virtual participation in town meetings is not necessarily bad, even when the technology is irritating us. But virtual meetings afford more participation than broadcasts on cable TV. So I am pleased to hear that virtual tech infrastructure has been an investment focus. Civic participation is alive and well in South Orange, and please continue the option of civic participation through virtual pathways. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to be heard and the consideration that the board members give to all public comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCourt. Have a great night. Ms. Davis, who do we have next?
Next, we have Walter Clark.
I don't recognize that name.
You are in now. Please turn on the camera and the microphone. Thanks.
Mr. What was the name again? Walter Clark? We need your audio, Walter.
Can you spell that, please?
No audio yet.
How about now?
Perfect. You're good to go. Walter, it's great to see you. Oh my God, I think
Good
I'm
evening, everybody. too many buttons to push, but Walter Clark, 328 Lenox Avenue. Good evening, everybody. I know you have a list to get through, so I will attempt to be brief. But first things first, I will congratulate Jody Davis again. Sorry I couldn't be there in person to congratulate you, but I'm glad to be here tonight. Moving right along, obviously a lot of tree issues lately, and you guys obviously know that I'm pro-tree in all things, so just disheartened by the Squire House events, etc. But I want to make clear the point that while clearly some stuff went wrong, the members of the Environmental Commission and the shade tree folks are here to try to help correct those going forward in the future. Obviously, we can't bring those trees lost back, but we're all about trying to fix some things and to help you all in any way we can to do that. So I just want to make sure that that is clear and you know where to find us. So please, let's connect up and try to change things for the better going forward. I do have one question, and that is regarding the DEP portion of the Squire House property, where the DEP should have been involved in terms of the riparian zone, that whole stream running through there. Have no idea what the update is on that, and can we expect to hear back from the DEP about what actions they will be taking, and who's the point person on that? So I know those questions that will have to be answered later, but thank you all for your time, both in letting me speak, but your time in general. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clark, and congratulations on being appointed to the Environmental Commission as per our last meeting. Have a great night. Send Sarah our best. Miss Davis, who do we have next?
Next, we have Linda Beck.
Okay. Please turn on the camera and the microphone.
Miss Beck, are you with us? There you are. You just need to unmute yourself.
I thought I had it. I thought I was going to outshine Walter, Mr. Clark, for a second. Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm just going to read a prepared statement, but it's under 3 minutes. So the trunk of the white oak tree in front of the Squire House had a 42-inch diameter. It was healthy. It was a tiny sapling in 1811. Our nation's first president had died just 12 years prior to that, and it celebrated its 50th birthday the year shots were fired in the American Civil War. And now it's a stump with a 42-inch diameter. I'm the current chair of the South Orange Environmental Commission and a co-founder of Meadowland Park Conservancy, which is just east of where the trees went down. I'm a program director for the Soma Film Festival. I have a job in kids television. I teach at Maine College of Art and Design. And despite that, I give 15 to 20 hours a week away from my family to my commitment to giving back to this community. And I know you elected officials clock in probably just as many, if not more. In fact, I need more volunteer hours. And we all do the volunteer work because it's important. It's important to each one of us. I'm working on the 2022 SOEC budget, which will cover the materials for our volunteer efforts. Planting of new trees, riverbank rehabilitation, funding for a soon-to-be proposed Adopt a Storm Drain program.
Sorry, guys, I like what she's saying.
Composting pilot, and everybody's favorite, River Day. $2,000. The developer who sawed down the Squire House tree was fined just $2,000. Chump change to a developer, simply the cost of doing business. $2,000 is also 1/5 of the entire 2021 South Orange Environmental Commission budget. So we're going to need more, and not just in our purse. We're going to need more volunteers to clean up this mess. However, how can I coax our volunteer crew to take time away from their families and continue with our weekly efforts when it's so easy to obliterate a protected ecological zone up the hill from the river downstream, where we're regularly working to make things better on a shoestring budget? And when we have no measures in place to collect funds directly from the developer to rebuild what he destroyed. We, SOEC and Green Team volunteers, the volunteers that populated so much of the survey, Ms. Jones, demographic survey she sent out, need a couple of things to reassure us that we're not putting water in a bucket full of holes. One, in January, I'm going to ask to increase the SOEC budget for 2022 to bolster our efforts. So I hope you will all consider that. Two, let's work together, like you've recently proposed, Ms. Collum, to find and ameliorate the steps in the development and planning process where we could have stopped the illegal tree removal from happening and also the unnecessary removal of the old growth trees that were no obstacle to construction. Our open space and trees are resources. Perhaps we need to figure out a metric to use to measure and weigh them in the same way we measure development and economic growth. And the SOEC is here to help with that, as newly appointed Environmental Commissioner Walter Clark just stated. Three, the number of trees to be removed from the Squire property was unspecified even after the developer was directly questioned by the planning board. We need to ensure that nothing is approved to move forward if any details aren't specified. Please, no more approvals of vague proposals. Four, we are working on an ordinance to protect our riparian zone on a municipal level and fiercely fine anyone who does not follow our code. Please look for that in the near future, and I hope you'll also consider that. And then finally, five, please pass the tree commission ordinance and any future local tree protection legislation that we bring forth. I promise you it will be well thought out and researched. As always, thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Beck. Have a great night. Ms. Davis, who do we have next?
Next, we have Greg Lachey.
Okay. You are in now. Please turn on the camera and the microphone.
Greg, can you hear us? Mr. Lachey, if you're having any technical difficulties, just shoot us a chat. Mr. Lachey, are you with us? Okay, Ms. Davis, let's put Mr. Lachey in the queue and move on to the next speaker.
Okay, so the next speaker will be Edward Grimes.
Okay, he's in now. Please turn on the camera and the.
Okay, can you hear me?
Mr. Grimes, you just need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
We see you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, my name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey. I also live at 84 Hanover Road, East Hanover, and I'm in South Orange quite a bit. I recently went to South Orange because I had received an award for disability awareness. And when I went to receive this award, the person I was receiving, that was fixing the award for me, it was misspelled. The person that was fixing it had no wheelchair access to their store. So we had a conversation about this, and he told me that he tried to put a ramp in, but the city wouldn't allow him to put a ramp in because it went out too far into the sidewalk. And he also told me that the bricks that were out in the sidewalk, although they're very pretty, they're a tripping hazard that people in heels have apparently tripped, creating people with disabilities. So from what I understand, there's a 2% wheelchair tax being assessed probably on medical cannabis patients. I call it a wheelchair tax. It's a cancer tax. It's a tax on sick and dying people. But I implore you, if you take that 2% tax, give us representation for that taxation and give us wheelchair access throughout South Orange. There's a lot of areas that don't have wheelchair access. And I know it's not your problem. I know it's the business owners. But make it your problem. We have disabled vets that can't get into stores. And I think it's important that disabled vets can get into all these stores. And if you have that tax on wheelchairs, we want, like I said, we want representation for that taxation and give us access to all the businesses in South Orange. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Ms. Davis, who do we have next?
Next, we have Bryn Dodds.
Wait. Okay, got it. Please turn on the camera and the microphone.
Mr. Dowds, are you with us? We have video and now we just need audio. No audio yet. Mr. Dowds, so at the top of your screen, there's an audio and video option. And you may want to go to switch audio in case you're not hooked up to your computer for audio purposes.
So, okay.
We can hear you now.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. You're all set.
Yay, finally. WebEx decided to freak out for a few seconds there. So I'm speaking personally. Of course, I'm sure as everybody was, kind of shocked and dismayed to see all the trees removed from the Squire Farmhouse property. That the fine was only $2,000 is, that's hardly even a tap on the wrist, not to mention a slap. I certainly hope that the village will urgently update its fines. I don't know, maybe do it, in proportion to, assessed land value, per tree or something. So yeah, just brief comment, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dowds. Ms. Davis?
Okay, next is Ritu Pancholi.
Ritu Pancholi.
Okay, he's in now. You can now turn on the camera and the microphone.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, and excuse me for not turning on my video tonight. I'm not in a place to put my video on because I have an early morning tomorrow. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm coming in front of the Board of Trustees to reiterate what you've already heard tonight from a number of people. I'm a resident of South Orange for the last 11 years. I've been president of Soma Action, which is a 501c4 grassroots organization in town. My primary reason for really coming here is I believe that the town is not acting with urgency around climate change. I feel that the root cause of the Squire House development is not being addressed. And I think that the issues in front of people like...
All right, that's enough of that. I got a meeting to go to. I'll see you all on Thursday. Back on Thursday. Hey, y'all, have a good night. Have a good night, everybody. See you.